Dandava pranams, good morning everyone. We are here continuing the reading of Sri Caitanya-Caritāmṛta Madhya-līlā chapter 12, the cleansing of the Guṇḍicā temple. Jai Śrīla Gurudev ki Jai. Jai Gurudev ki Jai. So we are going to continue the reading of chapter 12. Text 1. Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Sri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Sri Caitanya-Caritāmṛta ki Jai. Śrīla Kṛṣṇadāsa Kavirāja Gosvāmī Prabhu ki Jai. Shri Guru Varga ki Jai. Shri Guṇḍicā Madhiram Atma Vrindai Samarjayam Salanatam Sagaura Swachitavach Shitalam Ujvalam Cha Krishna Pavesh Saupajikam Chakara. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed and cleansed the Guṇḍicā temple with his devotees and associates. In this way, he made the temple as cool and bright as his own heart, and thus he made the place befitting for Lord Sri Krishna to sit. Yaya Gaura Chandra, Yaya Nityananda, Yaya Advaita Chandra, Yaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Gaura Chandra, all glories to Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Chandra, and all glories to the devotees of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Jaya Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Gana, Sakti Deha Koriyena Chaitanya Varnana. All glories to the devotees of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, headed by Srivas Thakur. I beg their power so that I can properly describe Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Purve Dakshina Haite Prabhu Yave Aila, Tanre Milite Gayapati Utkantita Haila. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned from his South Indian tour, Maharaj Prataparudra, the king of Orissa, became very anxious to meet him. Katak Haite Patri Dila Sarvabhama Tanyi Prabhura Anyahaya Yadi Dekivare Yai. The king sent a letter from his capital, Katak, to Sarvabhama Bhattacharya, entreating him to obtain the Lord's permission so that he could go and see him. Bhattacharya Likila Prabhura Anyana Haila Punarapi Rayatanre Pratipataila. Replying to the king's letter, Bhattacharya wrote that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had not given his permission. After this, the king wrote him another letter. Prabhura Nikate Ache Yata Bhakta Gana Moralagi Tana Savare Kariha Nivedana. In this letter, the king requested Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, please appeal to all the devotees associates with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and submit this petition to them on my behalf. Sei Saba Dajalu Mora Hanya Sadaya Moralagi Prabhupade Karibe Vinaya. If all the devotees associated with the Lord are favorably disposed towards me, they can submit my petition at the lotus feet of the Lord. Tan Savara Prasade Mile Si Prabhura Paya Prabhu Kripa Vinamora Raya Nahivaya. By the mercy of all the devotees, one can attain the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Without his mercy, my kingdom does not appeal to me. Yadimora Kripana Karibe Gaura Hari Raya Chadi Yogi Haila Haiva Vikari. If Gaura Hari, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, will not show mercy to me, I shall give up my kingdom, become a mendicant, and beg from door to door. Bhattacharya Patrideki Chintita Hanya Bhakta Gana Pasagela Sei Patrilanya. When Bhattacharya received this letter, he became very anxious. He then took the letter and went to the devotees of the Lord. Savare Miliya Kahila Raya Vivarana Piche Sai Patri Savare Karaila Darashana. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya met with all the devotees and described the king's wishes. Then he presented the letter to all of them for inspection. Patrideki Savaramane Haila Vismaya Prabhupada Gayapatira Eta Bhaktihaya. Upon reading the letter, everyone was astonished to see that King Prataparudra had so much devotion for the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sabe kohe Prabhu tanre kavu na milive, amisava kahiyade dukkha se manive. The devotees gave their opinion and said, the Lord would never meet the king, and if we request him to do so, the Lord would surely feel very unhappy. Sarvabhauma kohe sabe chala ekavore milite na kahiva raya vyavahara. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya then said, we should go once again to the Lord, but we should not request to meet the king. Rather, we shall simply describe the good behavior of the king. Eta bole sabe gela Mahaprabhu rastane, kahite unmuka sabe nakahe vashane. Having thus reached a decision, they all went to the place of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There, although ready to speak, they could not even utter a word. Prabhu kohe ki kahite savare agamana, de kiye kahila shaha nakaha ki karana. After they arrived at Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's place, the Lord, seeing them, said, what have you all come here to say? I see that you want to say something, but you do not speak. What's the reason? Nityananda kohe, Tomaya shahi nivedite, na kahile rahite nari, kahite vaya chite. Nityananda Prabhu then said, we want to tell you something. Although we cannot stay without speaking, we are still very much afraid to speak. Yogya tomaya sabe chahini vedite, tomana milite raya shahe yogi haite. We want to submit before you something that may or may not be befitting. The matter is this: unless he sees you, the king of Orissa will become a mendicant. Kane mudra laila muni haibe vikari raya boga nahe chite vina gaurahari. Nityananda Prabhu continued, the king has decided to become a mendicant and accept the sign of a mendicant by wearing an ivory earring. He does not want to enjoy the kingdom without seeing the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You know what is a mendicant, Gopal? What is a mendicant? ¿Ah?
In Spanish or?
In Spanish or English?
Un mendigo.
Un mendigo. De Kiva Seimuka Chandra Nayana Varilla, Dariva Sepada Padma Hridaya Tuliya. Nityananda Prabhu continued. The king also expressed his desire to see the moon-like face of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to his eyes' full satisfaction. He would like to raise the lotus feet of the Lord to his heart. Yadyapi Suniya Prabhura Komala Hayamana Tatapi Bahire Kahe Nistura Vachana. Hearing all these statements, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mind was certainly softened, but extremely he wished to speak some harsh words. Toma Savara Icha Amara Lanya Rayake Milaha Ihan Katakete Giya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I can understand that you all desire to take me to Katak to see the king. Purport. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is naturally the reservoir of all kindness, and as soon as he heard the statement made by the king, his heart immediately softened. Thus the Lord was ready to go see the king even at Katak. He did not even consider allowing the king to come from Katak to Jagannath Puri to see him. It is significant that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so kind that he was ready to go see the king at Katak. Apparently, it was never expected that the king wanted to see the Lord at his place. But by way of being externally harsh, the Lord indicated that if all the devotees so desired, he would go to Cuttack to see the king. Paramarta Takuka Loke Karibe Nindana, Loke Rahu Damodara Karibe Varsana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, what to speak of spiritual advancement? All the people will blaspheme me. And what to speak of all the people? Damodar would chastise me. Tomasavara Anyaya Amina Mili Rayare, Damodara Kohijave Milita Ventanre. I should not meet the king at the request of all the devotees, but I should do so if Damodar will give his permission. From the spiritual point of view, a sannyasi is strictly forbidden to see materialistic people, especially a king who is always engaged in counting pounds, shillings, and pence. Indeed, the meeting between a sannyasi and a king is always considered abominable. A sannyasi is always subjected to people's criticism, and a small fault on his part is taken seriously by the public. People actually expect a sannyasi to preach and not to take part in any social or political matters. If a sannyasi is subject to public criticism, his preaching will not be fruitful. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu specifically wanted to avoid such criticism so that his preaching work would not be hampered. It so happened that while the Lord was talking to his disciple at that time, the devotee Damodar Pandit was present. This Damodar Pandit was a very faithful devotee and a staunch lover of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Whenever there was anything that might touch or taint the character of the Lord, Damodar Pandit would immediately point it out, not even considering the exalted position of the Lord. It is sometimes said that fools rush in where angels dare not, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to point out Damodar Pandit's foolishness in coming forward to criticize the Lord. Thus the Lord indirectly hinted that if Damodar Pandit would give him permission, he will go to see the king. There was a deep meaning in this statement, for it is a warning that Damodar should not dare criticize the Lord anymore, for it was not befitting his position as a devotee. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was considered the guide and spiritual master of all the devotees living with him. Damodar Pandit was one of them, and the Lord rendered Damodar Pandit a special favor by warning him to avoid criticizing him any further. A devotee or a disciple should never attempt to criticize the Lord or his representative, the spiritual master. Damodar Kohe, Tumi Swatantra Isvara Kartavya Sabe Tomara Kuchara. Damodara immediately replied, My Lord, you are the fully independent Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since everything is known to you, you know what is permissible and what is not permissible. Amikon Sudrajiva Tomake Vidhi Diva Apani Milive Tanre Tahao Dekiva. I am merely an insignificant jiva. So what power do I have to give directions to you? By your own personal choice, you will meet the king. I shall see it. Raya Tumare Sneha Kore Tumi, Sneha Vasa, Tanra Sneha. Karave Tanre Tomara Parasha. The king is very much attached to you, and you are feeling affection and love towards him. Thus I can understand that by virtue of the king's affection for you, you will touch him. Yadyapi Isvara Tumi Parama Svantantra Tatapi Swabhave Hao Prema Para Tantra. Although you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead and are completely independent, Still, you are dependent on the love and affection of your devotees. That is your nature. Nityananda coge, Aiche haya con yana ye tomara coge, Kavirāja darashana. Nityananda Prabhu then said, who is there in the three worlds who can ask you to see the king? Kintu anuragi lokera, swabhave ekahaya, istana pailenija prana se chadaya. Still, isn't it the nature of an attached man to give up his life if he does not attain his desired object? Janika brahmani sava tahate pramana, Kṛṣṇalagi patiyage chadilekera prana. For instance, some of the wives of the Brahmanas who were performing sacrifices gave up their lives in the presence of their husband for the sake of Krishna. Purport. This refers to the day Lord Sri Krishna and his cowherd boys and flocks of animals were present on the pasturing grounds near Mathura. At that time, the cowherd boys, being a little hungry, requested food, and Lord Krishna asked them to go to the Brahmanas who were engaged nearby in performing yagya or sacrifice, and to get some food from that yagya. Being so ordered by the Lord, all the cowherd boys went to the Brahmanas and asked them for food, but they were denied. After this, the cowherd boys begged food from the wives of the Brahmanas. All these wives were very much devoted to Lord Krishna in spontaneous love. And as soon as they heard the request of the cowherd boys and understood that Krishna wanted some food, they immediately left the place of sacrifice. They were very much chastised for this by their husbands, and they were ready to give up their lives. It is the nature of a pure devotee to sacrifice his life for the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Eka yukti ache yadikore aswadana tumina miliha tanre rahe tanra prana. Nityananda Prabhu then submitted one suggestion for the Lord's consideration. There is a way, he suggested, by which you need not meet the king, by which you would, this is a little difficult. There is a way, he suggested, by which you need not meet the king, by which would enable the king to continue living. Eka bahir basa jodi deha kripa kori, tahapanya prana rake tomara ashi dari. So Nityananda Prabhu is suggesting a way for him to meet the king. If you, out of your mercy, send one of your outward garments to the king would live hoping to see you sometime in the future. Purport. Sri Nityananda Prabhu was thus very tactful, suggesting that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu give a piece of his old clothing to the king. Even though the king was not fit to meet the Lord, the king would then be pacified by receiving such a cloth. The king was very much anxious to see the Lord, yet it was not possible for the Lord to see him. Just to resolve the situation, Nityananda Prabhu suggested that the Lord send an old piece of clothing. Thus the king would understand that the Lord was showing mercy to him. The king would then not do anything drastic, like giving up his life or becoming a mendicant. Prabhu coge, Tumi Sava Parama Vidvan Jai Bala Bhaya Seikara Samadana. The Lord said, since you are all very learned personalities, whatever you decide, I shall accept. Whatever you decide, I shall accept. And we can stop here for today. And we continue tomorrow with the Madhya-līlā, chapter 12, the cleansing of the Guṇḍicā temple. So we will continue about what happened with this pastime tomorrow. Jai Shri Caitanya-Caritāmṛta ki jai. Jai Śrīla Kṛṣṇadāsa Kavirāja Gosvāmī Prabhu ki jai. Jai Śrīla A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Gopal, you want to sing?
Hariharaye Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Hariharaye Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha.
Yadavaya Madhavaya.
Gopal Govindaram Simadhusudhana.
Gopala Govindaram Simadhusudhana.
Giridhari Gopinath Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhata Raghunatha Jai Rupa Sanatan Jiva Gopala Bhata Dasa Raghunatha Jai Gosai Kori Charana Bandana Jai Gosai Kori Janha Hoite Vigna Nas Avista Purana Janha Hoite Vigna Nas Avista Purana Jai Gosai Jar Muni Tarudasa Jai Gosai Jar Dasa Vara Pada Renu Moda Tandera Sharana Sevi Bhakta Sane Basa Tandera Jana me mor Eya Vidasa Jana me mor Ei Chai Gosai Jabe Braje Koila Vasa Ei Chai Radha Krishna Nitya-līlā Kavirāja Prakasa Radha Krishna Nitya-līlā Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavana Anande Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Madhya-līlā Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Madhya-līlā Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Padma Koriyasa Shri Guru Vaishnava Harinama Sankirtana Kohe Narotama Das Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Jai Gaura Hari Bol Jai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Jai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Jai Shri Jai Saparicar Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Sundar Radha Giridhari Ju ki Jai Jai Saparicar Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharva Govinda Sundar Ju ki Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Saraswati London Chapter ki Jai Shri Chaitanya Saraswati ki Jai Shri Chaitanya Saraswati Acharya Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Chila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai Om Vishnupad Chila Bhakti Rakha Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai Jai Nitai Gaura Brahmanande Hari Bol